John Smith awoke with a start. Something wasn't right. The room was unfamiliar. It felt cold, impersonal, not his usual cup of tea. He sat up in bed, his heart pounding in his chest. What was going on? He stumbled out of bed and towards the window. Outside, the city bustled with its usual energy. But a strange feeling lingered in John's gut. A sense of being out of place, like a jigsaw piece forced into the wrong puzzle. He tried to shake off the disorientation. Must have been a strange dream. He went to the bathroom, hoping a splash of cold water would clear his head. But as he glanced in the mirror, his blood ran cold. Staring back at him wasn't his face. Panic tightened its grip on John's chest. This had to be some horrible mistake. He rushed out of the flat and into the street, searching for a familiar face. He spotted Mrs. Higgins, his elderly neighbour, shuffling down the pavement. "Mrs. Higgins!" he called out, relief flooding him. "It's John! Don't you recognize me?" Mrs. Higgins peered at him with a confused frown. "I'm sorry, young man," she said, her voice shaky with age. "Do I know you?" John's heart sank. He tried again with the newsagent, the local barista, even the grumpy postman. Each encounter yielded the same result, blank stares and polite dismissals. No one knew who he was. Desperate, John raced back to the flat, his footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. The night pressed in around him, thick with uncertainty, as if the world itself was holding its breath. He fumbled with his keys, hands shaking, and burst through the door, heart pounding in his chest. He had to prove his existence. He needed something, anything, that would anchor him to reality, to the life he was certain he'd lived. The urgency clawed at him, a silent scream in his mind. He tore through drawers, rifled through cupboards, scattering papers and upending boxes. Every corner of the flat became a battleground in his frantic search for proof. But it was no use. There were no photographs, no letters, no bills in his name. The shelves were bare, the mailbox empty, the photo frames blank, silent witnesses to his erasure. It was as if John Smith had never existed. The apartment, once filled with the clutter of a life, now felt like a stranger's space, cold, impersonal, and hollow. He slumped onto the floor, his mind reeling. The silence pressed in, heavy and suffocating, as he tried to piece together fragments of memory that seemed to slip further away with every passing second. How could this be? Where were his memories? Who was he if no one remembered him? The questions circled endlessly, each one more terrifying than the last. The phone rang, its shrill tone breaking the silence like a bolt of lightning. For a moment, John simply stared at it, unsure if it was real or just another trick of his unravelling mind. John jumped, his heart leaping into his throat. The sound was jarring, a reminder that the world outside still moved on, indifferent to his crisis. He snatched the receiver, a glimmer of hope flickering within him. Maybe this call would offer answers, or at least a connection to the life he was so desperate to reclaim. "Hello," he croaked, his voice hoarse with anxiety. The word hung in the air, fragile and uncertain, as he waited for a response. But the voice on the other end was unfamiliar. It spoke in a monotone, rattling off a string of numbers and asking him to confirm his identity. The words felt cold, mechanical, as if spoken by a machine rather than a person. I don't understand," John stammered, confusion and fear twisting inside him. The numbers meant nothing, and the voice offered no comfort. The voice sighed, an exasperated sound. "Sir, this is a courtesy call. We need to reschedule your appointment. You are Dr. Alistair Finchley, are you not?" The line went dead, leaving only the hollow drone of the dial tone. John stared at the phone in his hand, his mind a chaotic storm of questions. Dr. Alistair Finchley? What was this? Was it a mistake, or was his reality slipping even further away? The room seemed to close in around him, and for the first time, John wondered if he would ever find the truth about who he really was. The face in the mirror mocked him. It wasn't his. This wasn't his life. The eyes staring back seemed hollow, unfamiliar, as if a stranger had taken up residence behind his own features. John pressed his palms against the cold porcelain sink, searching for any trace of the man he used to be, but all he found was emptiness and confusion. John spent the next few days in a daze, drifting through the unfamiliar flat like a ghost. Every room felt foreign, every object a silent accusation that he didn't belong. He opened drawers, closets and cupboards, hoping for a memory to surface, but nothing came. The silence of the apartment was deafening, broken only by the echo of his own uncertain footsteps. He tried retracing his steps, visiting places he thought he knew, hoping something would trigger a spark of recognition. The city itself felt like a maze, its streets twisting and turning, leading him nowhere. Faces in the crowd blurred past him, none offering a hint of familiarity or comfort. He went to the library, desperately searching for any record of his existence. He scoured old newspapers, phone directories, and public records, his fingers trembling as he turned each page. The hope that he might find a clue, a photograph, or even a mention of his name kept him going. He pored over dusty local history books, searching for any sign that he had once belonged to this world. Each faded page seemed to whisper secrets he could not decipher, but John Smith was nowhere to be found. It was as if he had been erased, wiped clean from every record, every memory, every trace of the life he thought he had lived. Exhausted and defeated, John returned to the flat. The weight of his failure pressed on his shoulders, heavier with every step he took. The weight of his forgotten life pressed down on him, threatening to crush him beneath its immensity. He sat in the darkness, haunted by questions with no answers, feeling more lost than ever before. Then, just as despair threatened to swallow him whole, a sudden glint of metal caught his eye from beneath a loose floorboard. A small silver key lay hidden beneath the floor. John's heart quickened, hope flickering to life for the first time in days. He reached for it, hands trembling, wondering what secrets it might unlock. It was a faint glimmer of hope in the overwhelming darkness, a sign that maybe, just maybe, the answers he sought were still out there, waiting to be found. The key unlocked a small metal box tucked away in the back of a dusty cupboard. Inside, John found a worn, leather-bound diary and a stack of faded photographs. He opened the diary, his fingers trembling with anticipation. The pages were filled with elegant handwriting detailing a life both familiar and, well, strange. It was his life, but not as he remembered it. The diary spoke of a brilliant scientist, a man named Dr. Alistair Finchley, working on a groundbreaking project, a technology that could manipulate memory and perception. John's head spun. Could this be the answer? Had this Dr. Finchley somehow replaced his memories? But why? The photographs told a story of their own. Pictures of a younger John, or rather Alistair, smiling brightly alongside colleagues in lab coats. Images of complex equations scribbled across whiteboards, and a strange, helmet-like device that sent chills down John's spine. He delved deeper into the diary, piecing together fragments of a forgotten life. Alistair's research, the project, the accident, it was all there, laid bare in the pages of his own stolen history. The accident, a malfunction with the memory device, a catastrophic failure that had unforeseen consequences. John's mind raced. Had the accident caused him to swap lives with this Alistair Finchley? Were they trapped in each other's realities? As John read, memories flickered to life. He saw flashes of laboratories, felt the hum of machinery, heard the excited chatter of scientists on the brink of a breakthrough. His life as John Smith began to fade, replaced by a new, unsettling reality. He remembered the device, the feeling of it clamped onto his head, the surge of energy. Then, darkness. John closed the diary, his head pounding. He was Alistair Finchley, trapped in the life of John Smith, but why? The phone rang, jolting John from his thoughts. He picked it up, his hand shaking. Dr. Finchley? The voice on the other end was crisp and professional. This is Dr. Lewis from the Institute. We need to speak with you about the project. It's imperative you return to the lab immediately. John hesitated. Could he trust them? Were they the reason he was in this mess to begin with? Or could they help him get his life back? I'm on my way, John said, his voice firm with newfound resolve. He had to find out the truth. The Institute was exactly as he remembered it, yet somehow it felt impossibly distant, as if he were seeing it through a fogged window. The building's sleek lines and glowing panels stood as silent witnesses to secrets buried deep within its walls. Sterile white walls stretched endlessly, the hum of advanced technology vibrating beneath his feet. The scent of antiseptic hung in the air, sharp and clinical, mingling with a faint trace of something metallic. But something was different, an undercurrent of tension, a sense that the familiar was now laced with the unknown. The faces that greeted him were a mixture of relief and apprehension, as if they had been waiting for this moment with both hope and dread. Some averted their eyes, others offered tight, uncertain smiles. Dr. Lewis, a tall, gaunt man with worry etched on his face, stepped forward. Without a word, he gestured for him to follow, leading him down a corridor that seemed to stretch on forever, each step echoing with the weight of unspoken truths. "Alistair," he said, his voice low and urgent, barely more than a whisper. The name felt foreign, yet strangely familiar, stirring something deep within him. "We need to explain everything. There's so much you don't know, and time is running out for us to set things right. There was a complication with the experiment." "Complication?" John scoffed, his voice edged with disbelief and anger, the word echoing in the sterile room like a bad joke. "You stole my life, my memories, and you call it a complication!" His words trembled with accusation. Dr. Lewis sighed, the lines on his face deepening. "No, Alistair, you don't understand. You are Alistair Finchley. The truth is far more complicated than you realize. The memories, the life you recall as John Smith, it's all a fabrication, a safety protocol initiated after the accident. Every detail, every relationship, every moment you thought was real, constructed to shield you from the truth. Safety protocol." John was lost, his mind struggling to grasp the enormity of the revelation. The words swirled around him, impossible to anchor, as if reality itself was slipping through his fingers. "The device malfunctioned," Dr. Lewis continued, his voice filled with remorse. "We never intended for this to happen. The experiment was supposed to unlock the mind's potential, not imprison it. It created a feedback loop, trapping your consciousness in a simulated reality, a simple, safe life as John Smith. The world you knew was nothing more than a digital cocoon, designed to keep your mind from fracturing under the trauma. It was the only way to protect you from the damage, to give you a chance at healing, even if it meant living a lie. We watched over you, hoping for a sign that you were ready to return." John stared at him, his blood turning to ice. The room seemed to close in, the walls pressing closer as the truth settled over him like a shroud. His entire existence, everything he thought he knew, was a lie. The laughter, the pain, the love, memories that now felt hollow, echoes of a life that never truly belonged to him. He was a prisoner in his own mind, locked away behind layers of artificial memories, unable to trust even his own thoughts. "But why?" John whispered, his voice hoarse with despair. "Why go to such lengths? Why not just let me wake up?" Dr. Lewis's face softened with sympathy, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. He hesitated, searching for the right words. "Because, Alistair," he said gently, "the accident, it left your body severely damaged. We didn't know if you would ever wake up. The simulation was our only hope to keep your mind alive while your body healed. You're not going to like this, but you're in a coma. Your body is here, in this facility, kept alive by machines. Everything you've experienced as John Smith was just a dream, a fragile world built to protect you from the pain. John Smith was never real. The name, the life, the identity, it was all a mask, a story written to keep you safe while we searched for a way to bring you back. It was all a dream. And now, as the truth unravelled before him, Alistair faced a new and terrifying question. If his old life was a lie, what would it mean to finally wake up?